Hi there. My name is Gregory H. Arabian. I'm a major in the United States Air Force, honorably discharged. And I'm also a director of the Oral History Project of Post 41 AMVETS, the Corporal Paul S. Masubian Post. As you can see, the flag in back of me in honor of Corporal Masubian. Post 41 was named after Corporal Paul S. Masubian. The date today is September 23, 2003. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and today we're going to take the oral history of Comrade Michael Hajian, also known as Minas. Is that right, Minas?
Right. That's correct.
Okay. We're going to be asking him a few questions, and he's going to give us what we consider to be a soldier's story, which is his recollections of his service dates, and his service experiences. So bear with us for a few minutes, and we'll give you his history. Okay, Michael. Why don't we just do some preliminary questioning?
Okay, that'll
And
be
ask
fine.
you, were you drafted or did you enlist in the service?
I was drafted in the service.
Yeah.
I was told not to volunteer and join anything, so I never joined the National Guard.
Okay.
I was drafted and I was put in the National Guard from California,
Okay.
the 40th Infantry Division, which, as you know, the program MASH was the 40th Infantry Division,
Oh, it was?
the medical group.
I see. And when you were drafted, where were you living at the time?
I was living in Belmont at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that with your family?
yes, and there was a lot of Armenian boys with us because of Belmont and Arlington and Watertown and Waltham.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of them?
Yes, I remember Harry Dodakian,
Uh-huh.
a few others that I can't recollect, but
Well, it's been a long time.
yeah.
So you were drafted into the Army,
Right.
Army of the United States. Your biographical data sheet says that you were drafted into the 40th Infantry Division and the 224th Company G, is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
And that you were a private first class from beginning to the end of your service?
Right.
And is there any special reason why you picked the service branch that you joined?
No, we were drafted into the position that we went into.
Okay. Do you recall your first days in the service? Where did you go the first time?
Well, after orientation and everything else like that,
Yes, where did you go? When you were drafted, where did you first go?
Oh.
It says here Fort Devens.
oh yes, Fort Devens, right. I started from Fort Devens.
And what did you do at Fort Devens? Just paperwork?
Just paperwork, and there we were put on troop trains
Yeah.
that went through Chicago to New Mexico and right into California.
Was that a non-stop type thing?
Non-stop, right.
How did it feel to be on a troop train?
Well, it was something different for me, and I didn't know what to expect, but
Had you been outside of Massachusetts before?
well, I went through New York for a short period of time.
Did you imagine the country being so big?
No,
No?
it really is big.
Yeah.
And as of yet, I still have many places to go that I haven't been.
Like New Mexico?
New
Now, tell me what the experience is on a troop train. Were you herded together like cattle, or did you have time? You have room?
No, we had bunk beds, four high.
Uh-huh.
Salt water for showers.
Really?
Yeah. Which doesn't make any sense, but we had to bear with it. When we approached Yokohama Harbor,
Now, let's stay to your experiences first in the United States.
the United States,
When you traveled from the area of Fort Devens to California, you went by troop train, is that right?
right,
And where did you board the troop train?
well, at Fort Devens,
Okay. How many, do you know how many cars were in the troop train?
20 cars,
And each car took how many guys?
about 20, 30, 40, 50 maybe.
And did they all have an opportunity to sleep somewhere?
Yeah, or in the chair, actually. I don't
Okay.
recall having any bed or
Any beds,
stateroom or anything like that.
What about your baggage?
Baggage was on hold on the train somewhere.
So when you went in the troop train, you didn't go with your own backpacks or baggage or
No.
anything like that?
They were given to us when we got off the troop train.
They put it on a separate car,
Right.
did they?
Right.
And do you recall the type of locomotive that pulled you?
No, I don't
Was it a
recall.
steam locomotive or diesel?
I would say it was steam.
And so it was a regular passenger car that you sat in, is that
Right.
Okay. And while you were on your way from Devens to California, can you relate any experience?
No, I can't. I don't recall anybody that,
Did you get to know each other?
yes, yes. Got to know quite a few guys.
Were you given any notices on the way, or literature, or bulletins to read?
No, not that I can recall.
Okay. And in your baggage, did you have any firearms?
No, not yet.
But you were in uniform?
Yes.
Okay. So, how long did it take you to get to California from Devens?
It took 7 days.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you recall any of the places where you stopped?
Well, like I said, Chicago, Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Tucumcari, New Mexico. Okay. Did you get off the train at all and stretch your legs?
Short period of time.
Okay. And then after Tucumcari, New Mexico, when was the next time you got off?
California.
And was that at Camp Cook?
Camp Cook, right.
Okay. And
Camp Cook was located in Lompoc, near Santa Maria.
That-
Lompoc has that prison.
yeah, it's Lompoc. They have a
Yeah,
Lompoc
Lompoc.
prison there.
Right.
So Camp Cook was near there?
Yeah, next town over.
Okay. And tell me how you felt when you got off at Camp Cook. What was the weather like, for instance?
Well, the weather in California was beautiful.
Hot, cold?
I would say it was in the 80s.
Yeah. This would have been somewhere around January of '51.
Yeah. 70, 80 degrees would be about what it was.
Did you have summer uniforms or winter uniforms?
No, we had winter uniforms, I guess.
And while you were in California, did you maintain your winter?
No, they issued us summer.
Summer uniforms?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened at Camp Cook.
Well, we did a lot of marching. We did the rifle range. And everybody took turns shooting the rifle, being taught how, and pinpointing the targets and how the shots were fired at.
What kind of rifle did you use?
M1 rifle.
Did you find it a comfortable rifle to use?
Yes, it weighed 9.5 pounds, so it wasn't that heavy.
Did you do sentry duty?
Lots of sentry duty. 2 hours on and 2 hours off.
Really? And did you learn how to use the rifle other than shooting, like positioning from shoulder arms, present arms, and so
Yes,
forth?
we did that. We had a military man as a commander of the company.
You remember his
And
name?
he was snap-to guy. You grabbed the rifle right out of your hand,
Really?
gave it right back to you.
Uh-huh.
Like
And
the changing of the guards at Arlington National Cemetery.
so when you see them at Arlington National Cemetery, does that remind you of the way you used to be on sentry duty?
Yep.
Did you wear helmets?
Yes, we wore helmets.
Okay. And while you were there, did you keep your own rifle, or did you just use the rifle that the sentry guard used at the time?
No, we kept our own rifle. We were issued a rifle and we kept the same one.
Were you issued ammunition?
No, not at this time.
Okay. And I think you told me that you had that you had a combat infantry badge.
Right.
Did you win any distinctions there while at Camp Cook? On the range?
Nothing, but I guess I became a better shot than before.
Really? Any idea of how good a shot you were?
I can't recall how good I was. Good enough to go to Korea, I guess.
Okay. So you went through your combat training in Camp Cook with
Right.
shooting the rifle and doing the marching.
Right.
Did they teach you anything else?
Well, they taught us things like how to make your beds and how to strip down your rifle.
How long did it take you to learn that?
Oh, a little time.
How about the other boys?
They all had to do the same thing. A lot of KP duty along with it. 3 o'clock in the morning, they'd wake you up and you're on KP.
Really?
Pots and pan,
Oh boy.
which will lead me on to another story when we get to Japan.
Okay. And did you find yourself being welded into a unit?
Yeah, with the training we were getting, we were being welded together.
Uh-huh. And did you get any time off to go local?
You mean travel?
Yeah, to see the local people in
Yeah.
California.
We went to Santa Barbara many a times because that's nearby. I met a fellow Armenian boy that took me to his aunt's house in L.A. So that's about it. I don't know how far we could wander away from the base, but
Yeah.
weekends we had passes and we went somewhere.
You had weekend passes?
Yeah.
Okay. At that time, when you got to Camp Cook, did you know where you were going?
No, but we were told that we were part of a rear detachment. The regular RA of the National Guardmen, they were already there taking their training. So as trainees, we were about a couple, 2-3 months behind. That's why we rented the airplane, we came home on furlough, and then we got on a troop train in Oakland, California, Camp Stoneham, which even then they didn't tell us we were going to get off in Japan until we got there.
I see.
And about 200 of us got off to Japan.
So you were at Camp Cook, and before you went to Camp Stoneman, you bought a ticket to come home?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And how long did it take you to get home?
Well, we flew home, so it took about 6-7 hours.
Okay. What happened when you got home?
Well, they're naturally being close family. Everybody was glad to see me, and I was glad to be home even for a short time.
How long were you at home?
2 weeks.
And from what I understand, your father was also in the service, wasn't he?
Yes, he was in the Navy, in the battleship Bennington, USS Bennington.
Was he home when you got home?
Yes,
He was home.
he was home.
Was he in the service?
He was in the service in 45 or 46.
So
He was drafted also.
He knew what you were going through.
Right,
Okay. So he welcomed you together with the whole family. They were anxious
Right.
to see you. So you stayed home for 2 or 3 days,
I did.
and then you returned home. You
Yeah.
returned to Camp Cook
Right,
by flight.
right.
I see. Any idea what the ticket was cost in those days?
Airplane ticket?
Yeah.
Jeez,
Being in
I'd
the
say
service,
about
did they give you a break? or
Yeah,
something?
I think about $40.
Uh-huh, okay. And when you returned to Camp Cook, you weren't AWOL or anything, you got there on time?
I wasn't AWOL, no.
Okay.
I got there in time.
All right. And after that, you went where? Camp Stoneman? Is it Stoneman or Stoneham?
Stoneham.
Stoneham. And where's Camp Stoneham?
That's in Oakland.
Okay, so you went from Lompoc to Oakland by troop train again?
Right,
At that time, did you have your rifles with you?
right,
And you were in uniform, summer uniform.
right.
And your equipment was stored in a separate car,
Right,
and you went there as a group.
right.
All right. Were you in this so-called Company G at that time? Or
Company G,
You were
right.
Company G.
They somehow took things alphabetically order, so that guys with G and H and I were all together,
I see.
and A and B and C too also.
Did you have a shoulder patch at that time?
I had a patch. There's a picture of it right there.
Is this the one with a sunburst in it?
Sunburst, right.
Here, why don't you take it and show it to the camera so we can see what it's like. What you're showing to the camera is a book on the Fighting 40th Infantry
Right.
Division. And hold up that sunburst a little bit, and that's the patch that you wore?
Right.
What color was it?
Blue and red,
Was the patch red
yeah.
and the sunburst was blue, or was it the
Blue.
other way around?
Blue. No, the sunburst was blue.
And the patch was red?
Right.
Okay, very good. So when you got to Camp Stoneham, what happened there?
Well, there we got to, our lodging was straightened out. We weren't there any much longer than 2 days.
What kind of living arrangements did you have there?
Bunk beds,
Tents,
no regular barracks there,
regular barracks?
yeah.
And what about the lodgings at Camp Cook before you went to Oakland?
We had these steel oval shaped
Oh, Quonset huts?
Quonset huts, right,
Okay, they were pretty hot, weren't they?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you went from Camp Cook to Camp Stoneman, and you were living in barracks there. Are they square, wooden barracks?
Yes,
All right. And you had bunk beds?
right,
How many?
2,
2 in each?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long did you stay there?
Camp Stoneham,
Yeah.
2 days,
2 days?
yeah.
All right. And so that was mostly paperwork, or?
Yeah, just paperwork and squaring away
Mm-hmm.
the men that were going on the ship.
Okay. So you disembarked Camp Stoneham to where? Where'd you go then?
We went through Adak, Alaska,
You mean from Oakland, you went all the way up to Alaska?
yeah.
How'd you get there?
I don't know, it must have been a detour, but that's the way we went.
No, I'm saying, what mode of transportation?
Oh, ship,
By ship?
yeah. A troop ship.
Uh-huh, okay. So you, did you get sick aboard the ship?
A little bit.
How'd they treat you?
They had pills for you.
All
They
right.
treated me fine.
And how was the food?
Food was excellent.
And how were the sleeping arrangements?
That was good also.
Did some of you have to be sleeping and some of you on top? Was it tight? Or did you all have sleeping arrangements? Were you all able to sleep at the same time?
Well, I guess we were all sleeping at about the same time because we weren't in any battle zone or anything like that, or any divisional work.
Mhm.
So we kind of made up our minds who would sleep up and who would sleep down.
Okay. Now, aboard this troop ship, was it just Company G?
No, there were men from all different companies.
Were they
About
all?
all but 200 got off at Japan. No,
So you went to-
200 get off at Japan. The rest of 5,000 went on to Korea.
Okay. But you went from Oakland to Korea. I'm sorry, Oakland to
Japan.
Alaska.
Alaska.
And what was the name of the place you embarked there? Hodak, you say?
ADAC,
How do you spell it? ADAC, A-D-A-K? Something like-
ADAK, something like that.
Okay. Um, Describe your trip to Alaska if you can. Anything outstanding in your mind?
Nothing outside that it was cold.
It was.
I don't recall if it was all daylight or all night or all darkness. But,
Were you still wearing summer uniforms?
yeah, I guess it was all light at the time.
And do you remember seeing anything like glaciers or snow or ice or anything?
Oh, yes, there was many glacier and many snow.
And you were floating along
We were
by
still,
the glaciers?
going. No one got off the ship.
Uh-huh.
It still moved along.
You run into any storms?
No storms.
Did you notice anything about the countryside as you were going? Could you see the countryside, or are you too far out in the ocean to see?
Well, we really were too far out in the ocean to see anything.
So when you arrived at Alaska, tell me what it was like.
Cold and a country that I've never been to before.
Yeah.
Okay, it was an experience just to travel through.
Was it modern? Was it crude? What was it like?
Well, it was a little crude, but it was manageable for the time that we were there.
How long were you there?
Oh, passing through maybe a day or two.
A day or two. Were there other troops there that you saw
Yeah,
that were already there before you embarked?
we're already there.
Okay. And where did you
When
stay?
when we embarked off the ship, there was men that went on the ship from Japan, going to Korea. That gave me a great feeling, knowing that I was going to go to Japan.
So when you disembarked in Alaska, there were people from Japan embarking onto the ship?
No,
Okay.
just the men that were on the ship originally
Yeah.
got to come off and go back on.
Oh, I see. And you're saying that they were headed towards Japan?
Yeah.
And is that the first time you knew that you were going to Japan?
No, I knew I was going to, yes, when we pulled into Yokohama Harbor.
Okay. So you kind of passed through Alaska and went directly to Yokohama?
Right.
How long did it take you to get there?
To Yokohama,
Right.
2 weeks
2 weeks by ship?
by ship, yeah. It only did 15 knots an hour,
Uh-huh.
so it took quite a while.
Was this the same ship that brought you from Oakland to Arcata?
Yes, I think the ship's name was USS Minimori.
Minnie Mori. Okay. So it took you 2 weeks to get to Japan, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So when you came into Yokohama, what did it look like?
It was all strange and not like it is today.
Really? Did you
Not
see
a-
much devastation
Uh,
from World War II?
Some,
Was there still devastation there?
yeah.
How long did you stay in Yokohama?
Not 2 days, just 1 day about.
Just 1 day?
And there was trucks waiting for us to take us to Mount Fuji, the base, Camp Hogan.
How far is Mount Fuji from Yokohama?
Oh, it's about 3 days.
You were on board a truck for 3 days?
No. Well, I guess it was less than that. It was about a day, I would say.
A day.
Yeah.
It took a full day's trip on a truck to get to Mount Fuji?
Yeah.
Okay,
Then it was straight up
really?
for about 6 hours. We passed through 2 or 3 villages where all the geisha girls came out and screamed their heads off and waved at us. But our experience is going straight up. And of course, it was raining. And as far as rain goes, it rains forever there in Japan. It
Really?
rained 21 days in a row without pouring rain each day.
Really?
Guys were going behind their tents with a bar of soap,
Really?
taking a shower. But the rain was unbelievable. But it was a beautiful sight to see the mountain.
Um, well, you went directly to Mount Fuji, but you didn't have an opportunity to interact with the local people.
Except when we had passes, we went into the village.
Which one?
Well, there was quite a few of them, so,
Like camp followers, so to speak?
yeah.
Okay. How did you take care of yourself in that steady 21-day rain?
Nothing, your fatigues got wet, you just put on another pair. If that's wet too, you put that on. Then you take it and you put on another wet one, and you dry it off somehow.
But you're pretty steadily soaked.
Yeah,
Was there any problem with colds and things like that coming on?
no,
You seem to weather the storm. Okay. So you say Mount Fuji is beautiful?
yes.
What's it like?
Well, with the snow cap on it, it's like Ararat,
Really? Like Mount Ararat?
yeah.
Does it rise? How high
They
is it?
often ask me on weekends if I wanted to travel up the mountainside. I said, that's the only free time I have, I'll pass on that.
You didn't want to go up Mount Fuji?
No,
No? Pretty cold?
pretty cold.
I think you said that your camp was at the base of Mount Fuji.
Right,
Was it cold there too?
it was cold there too. They did a lot of exercises up and down the hills on the base.
What kind of exercises?
Well, training, shooting, rifle, target. We saw a lot of markings from World War II there.
Was this in preparation for going to Korea?
Yes,
Did they tell you that this is how it's going to be when you go to Korea?
not
Or
really.
were you just expected to understand that's what was going on?
I was just expecting to understand.
Okay. So how long did you train at the Mount Fuji, at the base of Mount Fuji?
Well, we were there from January to 6 months, I guess.
6 months, January to June.
January to June.
So summer came.
Yes,
And how was summer? Is summer still cold there?
a little bit, not too bad.
Was it anything like California?
No,
Okay. Colder than California.
it sure was.
Okay.
It often got 20 to 30 degree cold.
Really?
I can tell you an experience that I had
Go
there.
ahead.
We were on this regimental march. You walk 10 miles and you ride 10 miles. You walk 10 miles, you ride 10 miles. We got about half to our destination where we pitched tents right at the ocean side. It snowed so hard, there was a blizzard and everything, that our squad, which consisted of riflemen and BAR men, was buried in the snow, so no one knew where we were. So
Really?
there we were hung out to dry. We tried to get a lift and we couldn't, so we went to the nearest farmhouse, and this Japanese farmer put us up for the night, which to this day I wonder if we should have been more careful than to trust him.
How many of you were stranded?
About 10,
About 10 of you.
yeah,
The Japanese farmer put up 10 of you in this house?
yeah.
Did he
Right
feed you?
right on the floor.
Did he feed you, or
Yes, he
did you have
gave some
rations?
delicacies, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
We got to the end of the thing that the march and ride situation that we were on,
Right.
when they called it off, too many guys were getting frostbite, it was so cold.
Really?
Yeah.
When did this occur? Was this January, February, somewhere
Yeah.
in there?
You see, even the boots weren't that, they must have made a lot of improvement in the boots, because then the weather just went right through the boots.
It did. Okay. So, anything else happened at Mount Fuji that was significant?
We made a beach landing
Uh-huh.
It was so rough. Then again, they were gonna call us off, but we didn't. They dropped us off in barges on the beach.
Are these Higgins boats with the
Yes,
flaps that
with
come
the
down?
flap that comes down, right.
Yeah.
And it was so choppy. The water was over a lot of guys' heads. They lost their rifles, helmets, everything, you know. Finally, we dragged ourselves on the beach and we ran a little and then crawled a little bit. And then the exercises was called off and Coca-Cola truck showed up and we had a great time from there.
These Higgins boats, they dropped you off into the water?
Well, they got us as close as they could,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of swaying in there.
Uh-huh.
The water was very choppy,
Anybody drown?
not that I know.
But you were able to walk.
Yeah,
Well, the way you got soaked, but you walked along,
Yeah.
walked inside.
well, I walked, it came right to here,
Really? Up to your neck?
up to my neck.
So, what else happened that you could?
We made an airlift. Now, they told us we were gonna jump, but I says, I'm no fool, they won't let us jump without a parachute.
Yeah.
But guys were puking in their helmets and really getting sick, and then they finally told us, now we're gonna land the plane.
What kind of planes did you use?
Boxcars, you know, where it's open,
Those the C-119s?
yeah.
Uh-huh. And I think they call them a Fairchild C-123.
So,
So how many of you got into one of those?
I don't know, hell
Did they
of a-
tell you were going to jump?
Yeah,
But did you tell everybody that you're not going to jump because you don't have any parachutes?
yeah,
But most of the fellows believed you were going to jump.
yeah.
Okay. So where did you land? Where was the
Landed in
airfield?
Yokohama Bay,
Oh,
yeah.
in other words, you had a field there at Yokohama?
Yeah.
Is this one of the planes that you ordered? Plane like that?
Right.
Yeah, why don't you show that to the camera to show that what kind of a plane it was. That is a Fairchild C-123. We used to call them flying boxcars. They're pretty rough, weren't they? They were kind of shaky and
A
noisy,
little shaky and a lot of noise.
and they were open in the back.
Right.
Okay, thanks. So you had land practice shore landings, air landings,
Right.
and
We
Mount
climbed the
Fuji.
ropes, ladders, what have you,
Uh-huh,
up and down, practice up and down there.
I see. Okay. And does this look like some of the landings that you made on the shore?
Right, that's
Why don't you
it.
show that to the camera? Now, is that landing on the shore at Yokohama?
Yes.
So those are the Higgins boats. They still used Higgins boats in those days.
Yep.
And that's you and your group practicing a landing on the beach.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So you went through all of this at the base of Mount Fuji. Hmm?
Yep.
Well, that sounds very, very interesting. Have you ever gone back there?
No, I haven't. No.
Mm-hmm. And is this a picture of Mount Fuji?
There you go.
Why don't we show that to the camera? Here you are with your clothing on a line drying out, and Mount Fuji's in the background. Is Mount Fuji active as a volcano, or is it just dormant?
It wasn't active as far as I know.
Okay. Yeah. So after Mount
But the
Fuji,
snow was on the mountaintop, winter and summer.
and how were your facilities at the base of Mount Fuji? Were you in tents or barracks?
We were in tents.
Tents. And what about the ground? Did you have platforms? Or was it right on the ground?
No, we had platforms, some type of platform.
Wooden platform?
Yeah,
And you had bunk beds there too?
yeah.
Okay. And the food was okay?
The food was okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As yet, I'm not a cook yet, but that's further on in the story.
Okay. Now, your assignment all through this was as an infantryman with a rifle in hand.
I was an infantryman and a rifleman.
Okay. And after Mount Fuji, tell us After your training there, Mount Fuji, tell us what happened there.
Well, on Christmas Day of 1952, or 51.
51. You were in on January 51.
Yeah,
So I went through all this training up till December of 51.
right.
Okay. So Christmas 51, tell us what happened.
Well, they told us we were going to Korea. In fact, I was pretty upset. I had a 3-day pass.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I lost that.
You did. Okay.
But we got on the ships. It was, I can see why they were fighting the war. They wanted to, actually the Chinese wanted to take over Japan too. So close to each other.
Really?
Maybe they're gonna set up another war situation with us, I don't know. But it was only a day trip away,
One day to China?
yeah.
Why did you feel that the Chinese were going to take over Japan, wanted to take over Japan?
Well, they entered the war in mass numbers,
Uh-huh.
and they're communists as well as North Koreans. The 38th parallel, which was 140 miles long, divided North Korea and South Korea. At the time when MacArthur said, we'll get them all the way to the wall, and we'll be home by Christmas, was when the Chinese hadn't entered the war yet. Then when the Chinese came, all hell broke loose.
So we pushed them all the way back to the Yalu River.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you felt that the China was so close to Japan that it wouldn't take much to overcome Japan
Right.
because they had the numbers. Okay. So where did you land in Korea?
At Incheon.
Is that the first place you went?
That was the first place. That was where the first airlift was in Korea, was at Incheon. And that's where we landed.
Well, you said you went by boat.
Right.
Where did the ship land?
Incheon Harbor.
Incheon. You didn't go to Busan or anything like that?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so you went directly to Incheon Harbor.
Right.
Okay. Now, you went there by boat?
Yes,
What kind of ship? Troop ship?
troop ship again.
Because when I understand Incheon, it's not too deep. You get stuck. But your ship was able to take you in the harbor?
Right.
Okay. What did you do when you landed at Incheon?
Well, we got on trucks again and we moved further inland.
To where?
I don't know offhand, I can't remember.
Did you go towards Seoul or anything like that?
I went to Seoul, yes.
What was that like?
It was a little modern in some of the villages that were around us. I also visited my cousin George Setyan in Korea too.
Where was he?
He was with the, well, I can't remember the outfit he was with, but he was a cook at the time.
Oh, he was?
And I am having experience, let me tell you this. When we first got to Japan, we were on the front lines. I was still a rifleman. After 2 weeks, we pulled back into a secondary position where we were supposed to be for a little rest. But they trained us harder than they were fighting in the front lines.
Really?
I was watching this movie, Street Car Named Desire. They told me they want to see me in the orderly room. Well, the first sergeant used to be my squad leader in Japan, and I knew him quite well. And he knew that I had restaurant experience, and he asked me if I wanted to become a cook. I said, sure. And that was great because even the first day, it was 1 day on and 1 day off. I was on the off day. So I got all my gear together and my clothes and wrote letters, and I was quite happy to become a cook. I said to myself, gee, out here someone can get killed.
So, your duties, you were transferring your duties from being a rifleman to a cook?
Right. In fact, being a rifleman, just before we came home, our squad was put on standby to take this particular hill. And they issued bullets to us and everything else. But they never called us. They called it off as 5 weeks.
Now, from what I understand, while you were in Korea, you were awarded the Combat Infantry Badge, is that right?
Right.
And you have 2 Bronze Stars
Right,
attached to it.
right.
And you told us that one of them was given to you as a result of your combat experience on Pork Chop Hill.
Right.
Tell us what that was about, if you can.
Well, Pork Chop Hill was a disastrous area. There were too many Chinese fighting us there. But we held our ground pretty valiantly, and we pushed them back eventually.
Any idea as to how much you were outnumbered there?
I would say 2 to 1.
And what did you have to hold them off with other than rifles?
Oh, mortar rounds and things like that.
You did have mortars
Yeah,
and howitzers.
right.
What were they equipped with? How come you were able to hold off twice your number on Pork Chop Hill?
Well, some didn't even have rifles.
You mean the Chinese?
Yeah,
What did they do, just hurl themselves at you?
yeah.
And how long were you involved in the Pork Chop Hill battle?
About a week.
A week? Did you see any, did you get any air support?
We had some air support, and I watched some of those with the napalm bombs.
What kind of aircraft did you notice?
And again, I wasn't looking.
You weren't looking up in the air, you were looking at the enemy.
Yeah.
All right. Did you feel comfortable with the air support?
Yes,
Feel
yes.
And you don't know whether that was Navy, Air, or Air Force?
No, I didn't know.
But they did use napalm pretty heavily there.
We had always set up our food containers on the reverse side of the hill. The Chinese were so bad with their mortar rounds that they often landed near us in the front line. And I once was going to go see a tank attack, and I was slipping and sliding because it was so muddy. I'd walk 2 steps and I was taking 4 steps back. And I guess I got near the top of the hill, and about 30 yards away, a mortar round came directly right in front of me. And it kicked dirt all over me. And that ended me for wanting to watch that tank attack anymore.
Okay. Were you at all wounded in any of this combat
No.
experience? And I think you said that you didn't remember the second battle that you were involved in for the second star.
No, I can't remember.
But tell us what the country was like. Tell us what Korea was like.
Korea was so barren. There was nothing. It was a terrible place to own real estate, let me say that.
Really? Why is that?
Too hilly and nothing seems to grow.
Really?
Pork Chop Hill, I don't know what, for men that died on that hill and other hills there, it was just a shame.
Really?
But the figures that some people said it was 55,000 Americans, actually it was 37,000 Americans that died, and 19,000 of all the other troops put together.
Is that in the whole Korean War?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got another experience in the Korean War I'd like to say right now.
Go ahead.
When I first got there, there was this operation called Clamor, where the trucks at night would move without their headlights on to give the Koreans, the North Koreans and the Chinese the impression that we were leaving or weren't there. So we were in total darkness at night driving the vehicles around. And this happened for about 2 weeks, and then at a designated time, they opened up with all the the regimental fire, all on the 140 miles wide zone. It was like 4th of July, only 10 times louder.
You mean the Americans did?
Right.
In other words, they gave them the impression that they were leaving,
Right.
and then after a while, all of a sudden, they opened up.
They opened up on the
Uh-huh.
whole front.
Okay, yeah, all right. And what did that do?
That made my ears ring for quite a while.
Okay. Did you know that was going to happen?
Yes.
Okay. Did you catch many of the enemy with that attack?
I guess we did.
You did.
We also, while I was there, we went to Koji Island, which was the prisoner island.
Koji?
Koji.
Koji Island, yeah.
And we had the prisoners, I guess they were eating better now than they were before.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But at that time, the Koreans that were working, they had some of them in our outfit, the South Koreans. They were getting paid something like $5 a month.
Really? Well, that was probably enough for them.
Yes.
In American dollars.
So I don't imagine the soldiers got paid much more than that themselves.
How about the civilians? How did they feel?
Well, the South Koreans, that's the only Koreans that were involved with, appreciated us being there.
They did.
Because we were doing most of the fighting. They never would have won that war alone.
Did you ever fight with any of the Korean companies or regiments?
No, but we had fill-ins. We had two. When the guys rotated home, see, being a National Guard officer, when they rotated them home, we didn't have a guy to put in. They put a Korean in
Put a fill-in.
there.
Yeah. How did you find them? They appreciated you.
yeah.
They did their job.
Right.
Never had any protests or anything like that.
No. Never had any protests. Never heard anything about drugs or anything like that.
Really? And you were close to China, which is an importer of opium.
Yep.
Well, which is a vendor of opium. How far north did you go? Any idea?
Right. Well, I
Did
don't
you
know
get
how-
up to the Yellow?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Other outfits that was joining us got all the ways up to the Russian border.
Really?
But I don't know how far we got.
Were you there when the Chinese let loose and came all the way over the Yalu and started attacking
Yeah.
us?
That's where all the clanging, the bells and everything else they do.
Tell us what happened.
Well, they had whistles and bells and they were really coming like bandits, you know.
Yeah.
You knew one day you'd be playing cards with a fellow and the next day you'd be shot and gone.
How did you deal with that? How did you deal with the Chinese coming in? Were you hell-bent for leather going all the way down to Busan, or did you?
Well, I held up pretty good. I was naturally upset about the situation, and the guys always be talking about rotating home. But the guys did quite a job there. And we deal with everything that came our way. We fought the war gallantly.
Now, against the odds of the Chinese coming in, when the Chinese came in, they pretty well pushed us all the way south of the
Right.
38th. Is that where it stopped?
Yes.
Any reason why they didn't come further south from the 38th?
I don't know. But as you can see now, we're still paying for that.
Yeah.
The North Koreans and their atomic bombs and the weapons and everything else.
Yeah.
This
We
Cold
should have
War was-
we should have gone all the way to the Yalu and held it.
Yeah, that's what we should have done.
And I understand that General MacArthur said that even if we have to resort to a few small atom bombs, we should do it. But where did you end up at the end of this counterattack by the Chinese? Did you end up just south of the 38th, or
Just about south of the 38 pound.
was that near Incheon or Seoul or
No, Incheon was further down,
further down?
near Seoul, I would think.
Okay. All right, what happened after that? What was your experience after that?
See, while we were in Korea, Like I said, we were on Koji Island. They had a beautiful beach there. I went swimming often. And then there was, oh, the story about me being a cook.
Yeah.
I was watching this movie, Streetcar Named Desire, and they asked me, they want to see me in the early room. And I went there. They want to know if I wanted to become a cook. I said, sure. So I was a cook. I was a fourth cook, a third cook, second cook. I was a first cook with a sergeant's rating, and they always said I was going to get my stripes. I never did because of combat and the war situation.
What did you cook?
Well, the number one product that we didn't like in the service was Spam.
Ah, okay.
They used to call that SOS.
What did you do with the Spam? Did you fry it, boil it, broil it?
Boil it or give it away. The gooks ate everything.
Really? And they were happy to get it.
They were happy to get it. I even had George's sister mail me some yogurt. But by the time I made the madzun, it was so sour, it exploded when I opened it up.
Really?
But I did make some madzun, but it was very sourish.
Yogurt.
Yogurt.
We call it madzun in our meal, right? Okay. So, what else did you cook? What else did you serve the troops, other than the Spam?
Ham.
Did you have a regular kitchen there?
Yeah.
Was it a field kitchen under tents, or?
We had regular kitchens there. But often for breakfast, I'd go out with one of these Bunsen burners and give eggs and everything like that.
So, you had eggs
Yeah,
and milk and toast, and the troops ate
right,
pretty well.
pretty well.
How many people did you have with you in the kitchen when you were first cook?
About 15.
And they all worked pretty good?
Yeah. Oh, this was maybe some of the KP men were there too.
Oh, yeah.
Doing
So,
pots and pans.
so all of your staff wasn't necessarily volunteers?
No,
They were all
some were draftees.
draftees, KP guys?
Right.
Okay. Was it hard to teach them to peel potatoes and serve eggs and things like that?
Well, they better if they know what's good for their stomachs.
Okay. And how many people did you serve from your kitchen?
Let me see, we had 4 squads that made a platoon. I would say about 100.
You served 100 meals
Yeah,
3 times a day.
yeah.
How were your provision? How did your provisions come in? By truck?
They came by truck. A lot of it was frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Some was fresh though, but we always had powdered eggs. So.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever have powdered eggs?
Oh, yeah, we've had powdered eggs. We've had powdered milk. They made ice cream out of powdered milk, too.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, in Africa, when we were in Africa. Now, you were a cook before you went into combat?
No, after I went into combat.
After
I
you
was
went.
in combat for 2 weeks.
Okay. And then you came back, and then you, they made you a cook. Okay. After that, what happened? You have now, say, in June, July, August, something like that, of
That's
52?
right. We made a few more trips somewhere else, and then came November, when we rotated home.
This is November of
52.
52, okay. When did they tell you you were coming home?
About a month ahead of time.
Okay. So is it correct to say that you were in the service from January 51 to November 52?
Right.
And in all that time, your actual combat experience was like 2 or 3 weeks?
Right.
Is that?
But
Kinda
however, my combat experience involved me with the cooking and everything, because we'd take those food in canister containers all the way to the front line.
Oh, I see.
And we set up the containers on the reverse slope.
I see.
So we're right there.
So you were in the battle zone.
Even when we weren't in a battle zone, were right on target with their mortars that couldn't land in the right place.
So what you're saying is that the Chinese mortars, they weren't very good mortarmen because they pretty well missed their targets.
Yeah,
They were hitting the front of the hill when they should have been hitting the back of the hill. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, all right. So, how did you leave Korea? As a company or as an individual?
as an individual with men that had similar points to what I had. You rotated home on points.
How many points did you get? How did they figure the points?
I had, well, 4 points for each month being in Korea, something like that, and 2 points for being in Japan. So I had roughly 40, 50 points, and I needed only 36 to rotate home.
I see. So, you came back to Japan by troop ship,
Yes,
and did you disembark at Incheon?
yes,
You still had Incheon. We still had Incheon all through.
yeah,
Matter of fact, I think we have Incheon now, don't we?
yep,
And you came back to Japan,
right,
Yokohama?
right.
And how long did you stay there?
Not too many, a couple days until we embarked on a ship.
Did you have an opportunity to see the locals again?
A little bit, yeah, they all waved to us goodbye.
Yeah. You had a good time?
Had a good time.
All right. And from there, by ship to Alaska?
No, we didn't go by Alaska this time. We went another route, but it took us to Oakland again.
Took us directly to Oakland. By ship?
Right.
Okay. And then from there,
Then we boarded planes to come back to Fort Devens.
I see. And is that where you ended your service at Fort Devens?
Right.
Anything interesting to relate from your trip from the end of your service in Korea to your arrival at Oakland, or from Oakland to Boston?
Well, they must have thought I was Sergeant First Class because they never put me on KP duty on board ship.
Really?
So the P must have looked like an F.
The P must have looked like, oh, yeah. Okay. In
So
other words, the PFC must have looked like a sergeant.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And did they call you Minas or Michael in the service?
Sometime Minas, sometime Michael.
Okay,
Most of the time Michael.
Michael, okay. Now, what happened when you came home to Boston?
Well, we came home on furlough, and everybody was happy to see me, my dad and my mom, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Rest his soul.
And your father's still living now, and your mother's deceased, all right?
Right.
But you didn't come home to any bands or cheering or anything like that?
Well, we had the National Guard outfit band or something. They played Happy Days Are Here Again.
Okay. And how long were you at Devens before you were cashiered out?
About 2 days.
2 days. Yeah. And
I had the position to re-up for 9 months,
yeah,
get my discharge then, and get my stripes that I was I was entitled
you're
to.
entitled to your 3 stripes, sergeant stripes, right? Okay. We're
But I
gonna.
said, no, thank you, I'll go in the reserve
Yeah.
for 5 years, but after 4 years, they send me my discharge.
Okay. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of our tape. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, not really.
You're a member of the Post. How long have you been a member of the Post?
I would say about 50 years.
And you enjoy it?
I enjoy the post very much.
Okay.
I'm proud to be an American, and I enjoy the post very much. Proud to be a veteran.
And we're going to end this at 2:55 on Tuesday, September 23, 2003. And I want to thank you for your service, and we're going to be ending this with Michael Hajian at the end of this tape. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.